sometime the next day or two, I will send you my white paper on the 20 mistakes most speakers make using humor. Okay,
Oh.
it's the things that I found over almost 30 years of teaching this. These are the things that so many people make as mistakes. And what I always love is whenever I'm on a program with another speaker who's like a content speaker, for some reason they always feel obligated to come up to me and say, no, I'm not very humorous, I'm more of a content speaker. I don't put a lot of humor in my presentation. I don't care. And then I'll listen to them, and I realize there's like 8 or 10 different places in their presentation that people would laugh if they would just change a few things. First of all, I want to say about our 3 speakers today is, what I love about all 3 of you is you have a unique content. Right? You're all subject experts on what you're talking about. So many times in NSA, it's like, well, what should I speak about? You know, what do I know about you? And you know, you all have things that you're experts on, and that are interesting. That would make great presentations. You just got to find your audience, who you're going to talk to, and again follow some things people gave you here today, and make a huge change. Okay, and don't be afraid not to be monotone. And especially bring out some of your blackness that you're afraid to bring out, those things like, hey, no.
She's like, don't say that, don't be talking.
No, wait, because you're so paranoid that you want people to think that you're educating like that, but that is a fun part of you too, that you have to embrace.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie? Right on. Right.
He'll tell you like it is.
I will. That's it. Don't take my comment first if you don't want to hear like it is.
He's candid.
So monotone is one of the biggest problems I have with my students because they want to be in control, and monotone is boring. People's voices say crack, they go up and down. You get excited about stuff. Your voice should tell the listeners a lot of things, not your words. Like you would never say in humor, "Then she said to me angrily." No, you would say, "Then she said, what are you talking about?" So let your words lead the audience. Matter of fact, I do a lot of coaching, so I was working with a woman who was like a senior vice president over Georgia Power. And she's showing me a presentation that she did in front of this large women's group, and she was talking about the awards that they won. And she's listing them, going through the whole thing. Finally, I said, start the video. What's the problem? I said, are those important awards that you won? She goes, oh yeah, like the J.D. Power Award, the best ones that you can win. And I said, well, it sounds like you're reading your grocery list. Your voice needs to say, and we won the J.D. Power Award. And then last year, we got the Chevron Award. Your voice tells the listener. It's very interesting. Years ago, I was at a magic convention in Las Vegas. And somebody had given me tickets for the Siegfried and Roy show, and we had been going for 2 or 3 days. I was dead tired, hungover, everything else. And I went to the late show, and I'm falling asleep. 2 greatest magicians in the world, I'm passing out. But the interesting thing that I found is that the music would tell me when something exciting was happening, when something just normal was happening, and all of a sudden I'd be like nodding out, all of a sudden, oh yeah, no, we're here, all right. So, the music is like your voice, it's telling us what's going on in the story. You hear something exciting that's happening, and this is just information here. This is something that I just need to tell you so that you can get this, all right? You don't have to be as animated as me, but your voice has to have some energy, some life to it, all right? Know what your weaknesses are. Mine is my enunciation. I went through 7, 8 years of speech therapy growing up. I had problems with R's and L's and combinations like air. You know what I said?
No.
I said air mail.
Oh.
If I don't say air mail, it comes out airmail. Right? I tend to drop consonants at the end of words sometimes. And I got better at it because my wife would come out and listen to my comedy show and I'd say, I can't believe that people aren't laughing at this joke. She would, well, what are you saying there? And I'd tell her, that's not what I'm hearing. I said, seriously? But because I hear it all the time and I know what I'm saying, even when I listen to an audio of myself, I don't pick it up. So get input from other people, a coach, whatever, somebody that'll be honest with you. As both Kevin and Keller would tell you, the last day of my comedy workshop, when we do the final rehearsal and work on delivery, I am just brutal with people.
Yeah.
Because I told him, now I can sit there and go, oh yeah, Steve, that was really good, it sounds like you put a lot of effort into it, and I'm sure the audience will be like, it looks like he gave it some effort. Like, no, that doesn't cut it. You're going on stage at the Punchline 48 hours. I gotta have you to the point that you can do the best possible job that you can. And even Kevin, when he was on stage, wasn't I still?
Yeah.
Kevin started off and he tends to slow down. 99% of the people that I work with, I tell them, you need to pick up the speed. If you think you're going faster, you're not. If you're going too slow, you are. Okay? And Kevin's one of those people that methodically speaks in like these packets. And I'm drilling it into his head for 6 weeks. You got to pick it up a little bit. And finally he's on stage and you start off slow. And I'm sitting like right here while he's on stage. I'm going, pick it up. He's like, yeah. And boom, we just got into it. All of a sudden, the audience is connected.
Yeah, your
So-
reputation's on the line when he's
Yeah.
on stage.
Yeah.
Come on, don't let me down, Kevin.
But but we get up there and we get in our heads and stuff. So nothing beats practice. So what are some simple things that you can do to make your stuff better? Right? Shorter is better. Cut it down, just like I was saying to you. You don't need 15 or 18 or 21. Up to 21 years. Combine things together that you can. Like I had one student that said, I grew up in New York City. I was one of 7 kids. We were Irish, Catholic. And I'm going, just say I grew up in a large Irish Catholic family in New York. Wow, that just got everything all together. Economy of words. I would say 80% of what I do for my students is editing. You don't need that. And to me, take out anything that you can that audience can still get what you're talking about. If it's humor, what can you take out and they still get the joke? If you're talking about what a bad cook your sister is, you don't have to say, last week I went to my sister's house. Now she lives way out in Congress, about 40 miles from here, and we went out there, it took us about an hour to get out there, and she's like at the end of this dirt road, and you get there, she's got like 5 dogs running around. If it's about she's a bad cook, it's like, I was at my sister's house for dinner. Everything else doesn't matter. If you're at the grocery store and you're getting in your car, we don't need to know that I left the grocery store, went across the parking lot, got my keys out of my purse, stopped the car, got out, opened up the door, opened up the back door, Those things are assumed. I left the grocery store, put the things in the car and pulled out of the lot. Unless there was something that happened there, like you got robbed or you hit a car or something like that, it's part of the story. Then that needs to be there, right? So, I would rather tell people to put stuff in than have to still tell them to take stuff out. And it drives my students crazy. Didn't I have a few people in this one, Kevin, who I said, I think you need to say this before you start into that joke to add context to it. Well, you're telling us to cut things out. I know. It's crazy, but you cut too much out, you need to put this in there now. So, if you say something that's supposed to be funny, if you've written and say, I bet people will laugh at this, say it and shut up. You don't say anything else, right? Because you have to give people a chance to laugh, don't you? And most people, when they stop and let people laugh, it's a nanosecond. I mean, you can't even measure how short of a time it is, and to them, on stage, it seems like you're... So it seems like forever, because we're up there and everybody's looking at us, right? So, just make yourself. Favorite story about that, I had a Southern woman that was in my comedy class, and she's one of those people you talk to and you go, they're just funny.
Yeah.
Now I'm convinced I could just read a phone book and you'd be laughing. And she said, Jeff, I do 5 educational programs every week for an hour, and I got to tell you, I never get any laughs. I found that very hard to believe. So the next week she came in to do her first joke for the class, and it was obvious. She went on for like 3 minutes. I don't think she ever took a breath.
Yeah.
And I'm going, you gotta stop, you gotta stop. You said 8 different funny things there in a minute, and you never once stopped. And so I just hammered it into her head the whole class, and she said the next week, first Monday, she did a program the same way, no laughs. Tuesday, same way, no laughs. Finally by Wednesday, she says, I'm gonna try it. And at the beginning of her presentation, she knew she had something she really thought was funny. And she said, Jeff, I said it, and I just bit my lip, and people started laughing, and I freaked out, and I started talking, and they stopped laughing. And she goes, and later on in the program, I tried it another time, and they didn't laugh as much, and it's because she trained them not to laugh. She'd been cutting them off all the time. They didn't realize they had as long as they wanted to laugh. She goes, Thursday, I just promised myself, and every time I said something that I thought was supposed to be funny, I just shut up. And I just kept telling myself, just shut up, just shut up. Don't say anything, just stop laughing. Okay, just stop laughing, okay, I can talk again, you know. And she said by Friday, she had to take 15 minutes out of her presentation because people were laughing so long, and people coming up, you should be a comedian, this is great.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You know, but I've worked with many Toastmasters that have been in contests, and when we've worked on it and added a little more humor to it, I'm like, how long do you have? Like, what is it, 7 minutes? And I said, all right, well, we need to cut this down to like less than 5.5 minutes. What are you talking about? Well, you got to allow for laughter. But you know, and when I do this in my club, you know, there's so much laughter. I said, yes, but you're going for a contest, and there's going to be 800 or 1,000 people there. And what laughter was in your club for 2 seconds for a joke could be 8 or 9 seconds because the laughter rolls through the room, hits the back of the room, comes back again. And the thing is, you want them to laugh. So if people are laughing more, the judges are going, well, they're doing a much better job. Look how much people laugh. So that's, I think the most I cut one person down was 5 minutes. And they were just, he was a GSA member years ago, David. And he said, Jeff, I finished with like 5/100ths of a second to spare. I couldn't believe it. That, you know, I just let them laugh like you said. So let them laugh. Whatever you say that makes what you're saying funny is the last thing that you say. You don't say anything else after that. So if you take the old Henny Youngman joke, you know, take my wife, please. You don't say, you know, take my wife, please. Would you do me a favor? Because that would help. No.
Right.
Now, once you start talking again, not only does it cut the laugh off, but if you could keep talking after you say the funny thing, it dilutes the laughter because people are waiting for you to stop talking so they can laugh, and then by the time you give them a chance to laugh, it's like, oh, huh. So you have to do that. Shorter is better. Like I said, you take out everything you can. Pauses in comedy, and there's no mathematical formula to tell you when to pause. But all I can tell you is pausing, and the good thing is, and I'm not hammering the class though I am, because I think anybody who wants to be a professional speaker is crazy not to take it, okay? I mean, all the top speakers, June Klein, you name it, except for maybe Ken Futch, because he's been doing it so long, but Dan Thurman, all these people, all have taken the class in the past, okay? What's the point I was making with that? Keller, what was I saying? Pausing. Right? So a pausing allows the audience to assimilate, process what you just said, so that now they can laugh. Because sometimes it takes the audience a moment, a second, to, like if I just said, take my wife, please. What? There's no time to process, because when you say, take my wife, please, you say those first 3 words, and in the context of the joke that he's doing, you're saying, he's saying, take my wife as an example, right? That's what you process, your brain does during that pause. And then when he says, please, your brain goes, oh, wait, he wanted you to take her away. You know, that's where the shock comes from with it, or the surprise. A lot of times with people, what they have is just a humorous premise, it's a humorous idea, they don't have a joke. Sometimes they just have an idea up there, and you need to have a punchline for a joke, and there are actually formulas for punchlines, reverses, setups, threes, switches, things like that. That if you fit your stuff in there, like a threes is, you know, and you ever hear a lot of jokes that are in threes? It's always 3 guys walk into a bar, 3 guys die and go to heaven. It's never like 16 people walk into a bar. And the reason why a lot of humor comes from breaking a pattern. And 2 is the smallest number that you can create a pattern with the third one breaking it. 4 is too many. All right, so give me an example, or just something simple. It might be, if I'm doing a business presentation, Kevin here, boy, you talk about a dedicated employee. All right, from what I understand, Kevin drives 120 miles round trip to work every day because he's determined, dedicated, and can't find work in his own hometown. First 2 are normal. Third one, in direct opposition to the other two.
Wow.
Right? The third one's the funny one. You don't try to do 3 funny. Because if you try to do 3 funny things, the first one's got to be funny, the second one's got to be very funny, and the third one's got to be hysterical. If they're all equally funny, then it's like, ha ha! And it doesn't go up and... How am I doing on time? Just about finished?
Yeah, a couple more minutes.
Okay. Is there any questions that anybody has? I'd rather answer questions you have. Yes, Kelly?
So just because I've taken your class and it's brilliant and you really do need to take it, it's so
Okay, that's enough out of you.
Okay. The difference between, because I'm thinking funny for when I do this, is there a difference between the funny that we learned in your class as opposed to putting it in a speech?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And my advice to anybody who's putting humor into a business presentation
Yeah.
is never do it. Unless you're using it to make a point. If you ever listen to my long presentation, there's humor in there every 20, 30 seconds or so, for the most part, unless I'm telling a story. And single thing I'm doing is making a point. You know? Humor will break down resistance. Matter of fact, I remember when my youngest daughter came down about an hour before dinner. Says, "Daddy, can I have a cookie?" Well, there's not a parent in the universe that can answer that question, right? No, honey, it will.
Spoil your dinner.
Unless, of course, you're a grandparent. And sure, here, have some cake with that, too. So that's what I said. I said, "It'll spoil your dinner." She goes, "Please?" I said, "No." "Please?" "No." "Oh, pretty please?" I said, "How many times do I have to tell you no?" "Oh, if I guess, do I get a cookie?" See, you laugh, but she got a cookie.
Yeah.
Humor breaks down resistance. See? So, and that's called the sandwich technique. I made my point. I use a humorous story, whatever, joke, anything, to drive that point home. I repeated the point again. We always call that the magic formula. You ever see magicians? They tell you what they're going to do. They do it. They tell you what they're going to do. What they did. "I'm going to make this beautiful young lady disappear." Whew! She's gone. I'm going to make it disappear. I go like that. She disappears. She's gone. So it's like this. Humor breaks down resistance. Here's my story. Humor breaks down resistance. Now I might say, quote something else. And George Carlin said, after a big laugh, it's like the perfect Zen moment. Never are we more open to a new idea or a new way of thinking. Again, that's just reinforcing that point. But I never, ever, I think, except sometimes in my routine, there's a 5 to 7 minute stand-up bit that has no message to it whatsoever. It's just laugh, 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 laugh. I do the linking rings of bringing people up there. It's just laugh, laugh, joke, joke, laugh, laugh, laugh. So you've been laughing for like 8 minutes straight here now? How do you feel?
Right.
Right? Oh, you're alive? These are the reasons why you feel like that. So I'm using that again as a point. Puts more oxygen in your bloodstream. It does all these things to you. This is what you've experienced. This is why you feel like this now. So find your points. Write your presentation straight. Normally, the way you want to do it. Here's everything I want to get across. And then go back through and find the points that you want to drive home and add humor to it. You can do that by keeping a humor diary. Write down the stories, the ideas, the things that you see that are funny to you. And if they are truly funny, usually you can find a way to get it to make your point. So then you go back and you take that humor, like, my mom's a real mother truck, boom, that. I can take that now and I can put this right here in my thing when I'm talking about my mom, right? So you have these little pieces. One of the other things I got to say to me is nothing is funnier than the truth when the truth is funny. And most of the time the truth is just humorous and it needs some help. And that's what we do in the class a lot of times is, when Kevin first started taking the class, I go, "You got this incredible story, you went to jail, and all you're talking about is this stuff here." You need to really find the humor in that story, one, to show people you're okay with it, okay? But, still to get your points across there. So, we all have our own stories that we're passionate about. Find the humor in it, but remember, humor can be an exaggeration. As long as it starts from truth, the punchline can be a total lie. You know, my wife and I, 66 this year, actually thinking about having one more kid. Hey, my wife says maybe we should wait a few years. Yeah, honey, here's a real money saver. This way we can all be in diapers at the same time. Started out as a true thing when we were 40-something years old, thinking about having one more kid. All right, and things have been added to it over the years. Something happens to you, you don't have something funny to say. You're driving home. You know what I should have said? Write it in your humor diary. Because you can, as a humorist, you can say that you said that. Right? Nobody's going to fact check it. Wait a second, you didn't say, you know, whatever. So, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Email me, jeff@jeffjustice.com. I will send you my white paper on that. You'll get a lot out of that. Talks a little bit about what I talked about there. I will tell you, I do have another comedy workshop starting April 16th. If you do sign up for the shop, for the comedy workshop sometime between now and then, I will also give you an hour of free coaching on anything you want.
Wow.
So if you're doing a presentation for something, come to our place and we'll work an hour on you. Normally for people that haven't taken my class, it's $200. For graduates, it's $50. For you guys, it'll be included if you take the class, okay?
And is it level one?
It's level 1 coming up in April. And it meets one night a week for 6 weeks, Monday nights from 7 to 10:30 when I figure most of us are in town. If you have to miss a day, I have all the classes on videotape, but if you have to miss 2 days, wait for another class. But if you put a deposit down now, whether it's for this class or the one coming up after that, I will give you that hour. Okay, just remind me, you know, say in the comments, by the way, Jeff, remember me? I'm sorry. Yes, Steve.
You said if you're going too fast, you're not. If you're going too slow, you are.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
No, if you're going too slow, you're not. If you're going too fast, you are, except for Kevin. So for me, Kevin can't go too fast because he likes to think about things and he's a very measured person and he needs to pick him up when he's using humor to keep the audience more engaged. But for most people, they're too fast. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I really appreciate it.